friends, thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited for this video. When I got up this morning, I was like, yeah, I'm pumped to do that. It kind of jumped my to-do list, and I hope it becomes a really great resource for those of you who want a very basic, just thoroughly explained eye makeup tutorial. I got a message from Mrs. Webb. She taught both of my girls in kindergarten, and we absolutely love Mrs. Webb. She's amazing. When she had Belle in her class, that was like the COVID time when there was online learning, and I'll never forget the way she just came through the screen with so much enthusiasm. Like this was a whole additional load for a teacher to have to do this online learning stuff. And every time she popped up on the screen, she just seemed flat out joyous. And I'm just so grateful for her. I love teachers, and I want you to hear, I screenshotted her little request for this video. A video of eye makeup for every day in basic colors. She says, I need a grown-up, not over the top, and exactly how, where to apply basics. And she's like, if you already have this, I'll search for it. And I know, here and there have been videos where I've maybe really explained it, but I want a video today that's just going to be all about the eyes only, okay? So the face makeup's already done today. I just got some lip balm on. We'll finish the lip after. In case you're wondering, I'm wearing the e.l.f. Soft Glam Satin Foundation today. This is in the shade 25 Light Neutral. I really like this one. I've also been wearing a lot of Revlon Color Stay lately, but this gives just a little more glow to my skin. Revlon Color Stay Flex Wear Concealer. This is where it's at. Loving that in the shade Vanilla. I set the under eyes with, I believe I used Rare Beauty today, but I kind of rotate through different loose powders on the under eye. Yesterday I used Maybelline Fit Me loose powder, and I was kind of reminded like, yep, that's the stud loose powder. Little bit of Maybelline Super Stay Hybrid Powder Foundation all over the rest of the face, just as like staying power insurance for the rest of the day. For bronzer, I used my M Cosmetics stick in the shade Summer, and then I set it with a little L'Oreal Infallible Fresh Wear bronzer in the shade Medium. Not that you have to take 2 steps for bronzer, but I'm just having fun. And then my blush today, I'm wearing Wet n Wild Naked Brown. Really good, neutral, sort of works with everything toasty blush. Highlight is Precious Petals, also from Wet n Wild. I did my brows. I used the Benefit Precisely My Brow Pencil, set it with the L'Oreal Brow Lamination Gel, and then set all this with the Infallible 3-second setting mist. This stuff, I mean, I talked it up in the last video, but that's a really phenomenal product. I think it makes a clear difference in your staying power. I have a sip of coffee and move on to the eyes. First things first, I'm going to use some Milani eyeshadow primer. This product, I believe, really makes a difference in 2 ways. It's going to help prolong the wear of your eyeshadow look, and number 2, it's going to actually help those eyeshadows stand out a little bit more on your lids. Some of us can go into the eye makeup process potentially very dry, especially if we're applying all of our face stuff also over our eyes. Let's say foundation got put on your eyelids. I try not to get a ton of makeup on my lids just because I don't really want to add another variable to my staying power there, but potentially someone has put foundation all over everything and then maybe powder on top of that. And then you think about, okay, I've got powdered eyes and I'm going to go in with eyeshadow, and it doesn't really have much to cling to at that point, does it? No. So you go in with eyeshadow primer, and no matter how you handle your base, I feel like this is going to give you a really good starting point for your look. So we're going to use a very small amount. I'm going to squeeze out just a tiny bit here. Do you see how little that really is? And I'm going to split that between my 2 eyes, so it just looks like I've got a dab on each finger. And I'm going to spread that first on my lids, and then anything else gets to touch the crease and beyond. This is a little bit neutralizing for discoloration, but not incredibly so. It's not going to be like putting concealer on your eyelids, but it's going to have just the right amount of tackiness to grab that shadow, help it hold on, help it stand out. Then as far as basic, everyday, grown-up eyeshadow, I'm thinking smaller palette feels less overwhelming and can still have absolutely everything you need. If you like a little shimmery pop on your eyelids, think about the Wet n Wild Walking on Eggshells. This is a 5-pan palette, and this palette name has been around for years, but the latest revamp of this palette gives us 2 matte shades and then shimmer, shimmer, shimmer. So if you think that maybe one of these lightest shades is going to go inward on your eye and have a little shimmery, glowy pop, you really will see that. These are pigmented shadows, and not everybody wants the shimmer. I thought I would shout it out because it's a very high quality basic, and I can link below in the extra info section underneath this video. I can link to a somewhat recent video where I've put this on. But I love walking on eggshells, but I know not everyone's all about the shimmer. And when Mrs. Webb said like grown up look, I thought, well, maybe all matte. So therefore I'm thinking Milani Gilded Mini, and this is the one called 110 Whiskey Business. A very basic little matte wardrobe here. We've got 6 shades. We've got our nice light color, we've got mid-tones, we've got deep. And I will link below to the brushes I use. I really have figured out a way to do my eye looks without pulling in any high-end brushes, and I'm very proud of that. I feel like I've really honed in on good quality drugstore brushes. And what we're gonna start off with is a crease brush here. This one's from Profusion, and something about this brush, I'm not saying this is the only brush that could work, but something about it is kind of pinched in here at the top of the ferrule, and it creates a little width left to right, and that really sticks in my crease nicely. But if you have any kind of brush that looks a little bit fluffy, you know, I'm just pulling out random ones that I have here in my storage. A brush that looks kind of domed and fluffy like that. You will be in the ballpark for what we need for this stage of the look. So I'm gonna go to this kind of more neutral brown. This one's even warmer. This one's a little bit more neutral. I'm gonna go into that with a couple of gentle taps. I'm not rubbing back and forth, because these are pigmented shadows. We don't need to stir up all that powder, but I give a little tap just to remove any excess that might be on the brush. If we over apply shadow, I think that's one of the biggest causes of a muddy, overwhelming eye look, is just too much getting on there. These are pigmented, dab, dab, tap, tap, and let's get going. First place you put your brush is where the most product's going to go. So with that in mind, I'm going on the outside of my crease here, and I'm gonna start pulling it gently inward, okay? I'm going like little back and forth motions. As Mally Roncal would say, windshield wiper right here in the crease. So that's my initial bit put on right there. Okay, I've got a soft, gentle crease. If you find that you've still got some space remaining between your crease and your brow and you'd like to fill that out a bit more, you know, you could add just a little bit more of that shade and let it further blend up above if you want. It's all about, you know, how dramatic do you want it to be, but we're keeping this pretty everyday. So we hit the crease, and if we want a little bit more blending and softening, we let it come on up. And another thing I notice that I do with my face while I'm putting on my eye makeup, like at rest, you know, my brows might come down a little bit more, you know, I'm just like got my face all relaxed. But when I get into eye makeup mode, I find myself naturally lifting my brows a little bit. I'm not saying lift them to the moon, but lift a little bit. And what that does is that really exposes all the space that you need to see. Whereas if my face is more at rest, look, a little bit of lift, okay? It lets you see everything you need to see. So let's do that on the other side. We're tapping into that mid-tone shade. Even if you don't have this exact palette, think medium, mid-tone, matte. And we're swishing back and forth on that crease line. And then I like to see that shadow, again, come up just a little bit higher than that, because we also get more lift. You know, we talk about, okay, right now we're kind of lifting, we're standing at attention, we're trying to do this eye look, but when things come down a bit more and our face is relaxed, we still want to have lift to our eyes, don't we? So you go up a little bit higher than the crease. And by that I mean this zone right in here, okay? Lifting it up just a little bit higher. This is why we use a fluffy brush, because we're not seeing harsh lines and edges, are we? The brush is pretty full. I don't feel like I have monstrous eyes. I don't have maybe the tiniest eyes ever, but a brush like this feels like a very appropriate size for me. If you're feeling like the shadow is getting out of control, there's a good chance you've either A, put too much on your brush, or B, your brush is too big. Let's clean off that shade from the brush. It can be this easy. You know, there's probably not a lot of excess on there. We've been very minimal with the application. I'm gonna go to my lightest matte shade here, get a little bit on, tap off excess, and this we're gonna use as kind of a highlight slash right on the edge of what we just did. And it's extra softening. Anything that's looking like your skin tone, but a little bit lighter in the palette, is gonna be great for merging the last shadow you applied back into your skin, leaving no harsh edges. Everything's looking really soft. Doesn't have to be difficult there. That's just nice, easy, giving us a little bit of light right under the brow and blending our edge. There's a cat scratching at the girl's door. Now we want to start thinking about giving ourselves a little bit of darkness on the outer part of the lid. Now, if you really like a light look, you could refrain from this and maybe just do something light all over the lid and call it a day. And it's very soft, very natural. But just to make things even more finished and potentially even more lifted, we're gonna do this step too. And I think it's important to explain this step whether you choose to incorporate it every day or not. But this is a flat brush. This brush is from Morphe. It's an affordable line at Ulta, and you'll notice it is truly very flat. When I turn it sideways there, flat brush. Not huge in comparison to my eyelid, but just about like the size of my eyelid. If you're having trouble coming up with brushes, another thing that can get it done at this phase of the game would be a sponge tip applicator. So maybe scour some old eyeshadow palettes and you might find one in there. Those can work fine as well. I have makeup books from the late great Kevin Aquan, and he used sponge tips too. We're not too good for sponge tips. But I'm gonna go into one of the dark browns. Let's do this one. Get a little bit on the brush, tap off any excess, and we're gonna pat this on the outer part of our eyelid. Look how easy these shades are to work with. It was a couple gentle taps into our palette, and now we're just patting. Pat, pat, pat. I'm not sweeping back and forth, I'm just pat, pat, patting on the outer part of my eyelid. And I'm feeling the tip of that brush, the tip, come like into the crease. Okay, because that makes sense, right? Darkness coming out of the crease. And I can take the brush, so this is the side that has the product on it. Look what I'm gonna do. I can flip it around, so that same side that has product on it is now working up. Okay, let's show that again. Here's where we started, pat, 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 turning, so the side that has product on it is now like pointing down into my crease. And look, we're suddenly pulling that shadow upward. Like so, okay? And let's say it's Halloween time and you want to get going with a shape, or you got some other kind of big occasion and you're thinking, I need the eyeshadow bigger. You can use this flat brush and continue shaping outward as much as your heart desires, but this is where we're stopping for every day. Really good. We're gonna do the same thing on the other eye. A little tap, tap, tap off excess, and begin patting that matte shadow on the outer part of the eyelid. Second priority, start thinking about the tip of that brush coming in contact with your actual crease. That little crease line that we see there. Again, I'm feeling a raise to my eyebrows as I do this, so I have this area fully exposed to myself to work on. Patting, patting, and then when we feel like we've got that done, we're flipping the brush. It was patting, now it's flipping and coming up here. If you feel like there's another good way to do that, if that totally did not make sense, then go for what works for you. But this is just a way to basically use one brush in two ways, for the lid, for the crease. Okay? Now, what I would do is go back to that first brush we were using in our crease, and let's blend over this. I'm not needing to sweep all over my lid right now, but let's go over the crease area again. We haven't added any product to this brush. It might have a little leftover, and that's okay. Look how it's smoothed out now. And this alone is giving us lift to the outer part of our eye. And we haven't done some big, loud, wild shape, have we? We've simply applied darkness to the outer lid and the crease, and now we're just letting that blend. Nice and smooth, no harsh edges. And with me explaining all these steps, I realize it's seeming like this is taking a really long time. It doesn't have to take this long. I'm just explaining in detail, right? Next up, you can take your same flat brush and clean it off, or you could go to a different flat brush. I think it does help to have a couple flat brushes on hand, really. I like to reserve this one for my dark outer colors, and I've got this other Morphe one that's maybe a little bit smaller, but still very flat. And I can use that for any inside stuff because we're gonna go a little lighter coming inward. I'm gonna use that shade right there. It's like a soft kind of khaki pants sort of color. And I'm just gonna put this on the inner part of the lid. This is the space that's left. And watch me kind of just overlap it. No big deal. That's it. Just overlap, just feel yourself patting it right on there. Again, it's this shade. See how it's a little more dim compared to that one? They might both be getting a little washed out on camera, but it's just not quite as bright as what we put under the eyebrow. And just let it go over. And if you guys are enjoying this and you're thinking, give me more intricate looks, give me things that involve more colors, more brushes, more finishes. Your girl's been out here making videos since late 2007, so I got a lot of other things for you to watch to go in different directions. But there is some everyday basic eyeshadow. I'm not gonna do a bunch of shadow down here on the lower lash line. You could, but I'm doing this with teachers in mind, and teachers don't have time to have stuff drifting down, making corrections, doing touch-ups. We need it to last, okay? So that's part of using eyeshadow primer. We're using some good quality shadows, and then think, what kind of liner do I like to use? Do you like a liquid? Do you like a pencil? I like something lately that I refer to as lazy liner, which is the thicker shadow sticks. You don't have to do this step, but you could if you want a little more definition. L'Oreal has these things called Lace Shadow Stick. They're kind of new and they're very, very smooth and they're a little bit cooling. And this color called Brown Abyss is very pretty, but see how it's a thick stick? You're thinking, Em, what are you gonna do? You're gonna go turn this look upside down here or something? No, I'm just gonna apply it close to my lash line. And when you use one of these, there's a feeling that like, I can't mess this up, because it's just kind of a thicker stick and it gives you that softened line, but more darkness in there next to the lashes. You'll also notice I didn't go way in here. I just kind of kept it at about the outer half. It's just incredibly smooth. I'm just very light pressure. You don't have to pull and tug, really light. And then I might take my finger on that inner part and just make sure she's soft. So easy. You could use that same color down on the lower lash line if you want, or maybe pick a softer one. Magnetic Bronze is a little bit softer, and I kind of like the look of that on the lower lash line. Just a little bit, whoop, just swoop it in. This is stuff that doesn't need to be set. I was talking about staying power. These lock in. They will give you the look of smudgy shadow, but no staying power concerns at all. So I love that. It was just that easy. Like, make the sound effect, whoop, and done. So at this point in time, we're gonna curl the lashes and do some mascara. I'm gonna pull in Wet n Wild So Defined. I've really been liking that one these days. I've never enjoyed a Wet n Wild mascara so much. But I'm using my eyelash curler here and I get it very close to the root of my lashes. And then my friend David said you need to pulse it. So ever since he said that, I've pulsed. And I'll hold it for what I think is roughly 30 seconds, give or take, because my lashes are very straight and they need the help. There they are. They're curled now. And take your mascara. I really like to hold a mirror close to my eyes, look down into that mirror so you're feeling like it's right under your nose. Look down into the mirror and then you can see the full length of your lash. I can see where my lashes are coming out of my eyelid and I can see all the way to the tip. And that's the best way to put it on. When you're just looking straight out in a mirror, guess where the mascara is going? Pretty much just the tips, okay? So after you've given it a good curl, oh no, I messed up. I was saying after you give it a good curl, you, this is kind of like locking it in. You want to get it on the lash's root to tip. But I got a little dot of it there on my eyelid, but this is probably good so we can explain how to correct that because that happens, right? This is real life. Look at that pretty lash. And I'm just gonna leave it on top. I'm not gonna put a ton of like lower lash mascara on, but if you like that, go for it. But I have a little dab of darkness there on the lid. We're gonna let that dry and then just flake it away with a little spoolie brush like this. Any kind of little scratchy brush you got. So we'll come back to that. Happens to me all the time. Looking down in the mirror helps so much. Now that that's dried a little bit, and I even have a fleck over here too, I don't know what's up with me today. Just scrape, scrape, scratch over your little dried bit of mascara and it will just flake away. So there's our grown-up, easy, basic, everyday eye. Just to review, we used the Milani Gilded Mini Palette in Whiskey Business. The first thing we did was the crease. So I took a crease brush, I went to that shadow, and I blended it in the crease, and I worked it a little bit higher than my crease so we could have some lift. Then we cleaned off that brush, we went over to our lightest shade. We used that as not only a highlighter, but a way of really blending the edge of the last shadow. Then we took a flat brush with one of the darker shades. I used that one right there, and we patted it on the outer part of the lid. We shifted the brush so some of that shadow got pulled up toward the crease. And then we took the crease brush and just made sure everything looked blended there. And we knew we could shape this with as much shape as we want to have. If we want that darkness going higher, further out, whatever, you know, you're the artist. But use that initial crease brush just to get it blended. And then the last step is just to take a shade that you want to use. I use that one on the inner part of my lid. I feel like it opens my eye up just a little bit more, gives kind of a lighter backdrop to some lashes here. I put that shade all over the inner half of the lid and let it just overlap the darker part, okay? End result, I feel, is a very finished, blended looking eye, but nothing's too loud, too wild and crazy. There are many liner options you could do, but I just wanted to show you the lazy liner technique that I like. Also, if you get this brush, it comes in a little trio, and it also includes the small pointed brush. And that can be helpful too if you want to get into the crease and you feel like maybe this brush, sorry, I was holding it, and you feel like this brush is a little bit big for doing crease stuff. This smaller brush really gives a lot of control, and it can be very handy for shaping things too. I pulled this into a lot of looks on my channel. I was kind of trying to minimize the different brushes necessary for the look in this video, but you can see that one in action in a lot of my other tutorials. But now we're just going to throw together a quick lip. I'm going to use my Rimmel Provocalips today. This is the shade called Summer Lovin'. I love these for long wear. I'm thinking my teachers out there who are trying to have something last all day. You're going to put on this first color coat and let it dry, and then put on the top coat. And it feels really comfortable and like balmy. And you can continue reapplying that top coat throughout the day if you want, or if it has to be untouched all day, you'll still have this color locked in. And while that's sitting there, I'm thinking, more blush maybe. I just like blush, okay? Naked Brown. I love that shade. Sometimes you just need to see the eye look get finished to know that you need more blush. Okay, now that that's feeling like mostly dry, I'm gonna go to the step 2, which feels like liquid lip balm. It doesn't make you super shiny. It makes this look like a cream lipstick, you know? And feel instantly, so much more comfy. Okay, that's a really everyday color that I think a lot of people might like. And again, staying power galore. So that, my friends, is our basic, everyday, grown-up eye look. It's gonna frame your eyes. It's gonna give you a little bit of lift. It's not gonna look too like crazy over the top, but hopefully those steps made sense. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments section. Again, I would love this video to be a resource for anybody that just needs that basic look, and please share it with anybody you know who's either starting out with makeup or just trying to get some eye makeup practice in. Hi, Biddy. I'll see you down there, Biddy. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and if you found this helpful, definitely say thank you to Mrs. Webb, because she's the one who asked for it, and it was absolutely my pleasure to get to do this. So thanks for your time, everyone. I will see you again very soon. I love you. Bye.